Okay guys, welcome again to our free web class for junior developer. You are your way to become a web developer. If you remember in the last class, we'll talk about you having computer system, a browser, and editor where we used to write our code. So today we start writing our code. So first thing first, you need to know how this code works. So on your browser, the web page makes use of HTML. What is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. It's the standard markup language for web pages. This tells the browser what kind of document you have. So then this HTML is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Don't worry guys, we still make use of our code editor so you can see it yourself. So we will have a tag name, content, then we have our closing tag. So here, the tag name here that you are seeing is the opening tag, content here in the middle, then we now have our closing tag. So the difference between the opening tag and the closing tag is just this backslash. So kindly take notes of that. So now we hit back to our code editor, but before that I want you to create a folder either on your desktop or on your document. You can name it whatever you name. For the purpose of this class, we name this basic web design. Okay, now so I will now open our text editor. If you open your text editor, by default this is how it should be. Then you now go to file, from file click on open folder, then you select the folder. So I'm gonna select this folder now. Okay, so this is what we have. Then from this folder you see I have on title here. If you don't have a title here, from here you can just create any of this icon where you have a new file. Okay, since we have it here already, so I'll just press Ctrl S. So automatically it will want to save onto the folder that we created earlier. So this I will save it as index.html. Save as type. Make sure you select HTML, please. It's very important. So I'll just click on save. So you see after saving, there's some things that change on your code editor. You can see. So once you have that now, so now let's start with our HTML. You know, I said earlier that we use the HTML to talk to our browser, to tell the browser that what do you want to do. Okay, so now to start our HTML, so you press, we all know that we now have opening tag and a closing tag. So the opening tag is the left angle bracket. So you press your shift and the bracket, you see it, then you now press exclamation mark, which is the letter 1 on your keyboard. You also press the shift. Then now we now have Doctype space HTML. Then I will now close the tag. That's the right angle bracket. Now let me explain what this does, what it means, the Doctype that you are seeing on our browser. Okay, this is wide enough so you guys can see it. Now you see Doctype, it means document type. HTML. So I'm trying to instruct my my code to tell my browser that the kind of document I want you to display is HTML document. That is the meaning. That's the declaration. That is, declaration of type of our document is what? HTML. So after this HTML, because when it comes to coding, when it comes to designing of code, it has its own syntax, it has its own rules that you have to follow. Just like every organization, they have their own rules, they have their own bylaw that you have to follow. Here it has its own rules. So the first thing that you have to display on your browser, on your text editor, is this Doctype HTML. When you press enter, it will take you to number 2. So I want you to type something. What I want you to type now is just press the angle bracket, type okay, let's just say for this purpose, let's just type head. When you close that head, you see it's autocomplete. Then you press enter. If it doesn't autocomplete on your side, just type. I believe you can type it, though the autocompletion shouldn't meant for junior learner or junior developer. You can as well type it if you don't have it. It's very, very simple. You just type by using the splash, as I explained earlier. So on our head element, all this thing is element. This head is element. That's the opening element, and here is the closing element, which is the opening tag and the closing tag. So the next thing is we have our title. So now our title, I can use our title. I can say free web class. Okay, then I will save it. That's pressing Ctrl S. So after that, our head, before our head, we have before our closing head, we have our body. Let me explain what the body does. The body is whatever you want people to see on your browser. All the content that you want people to be seeing in your browser, it must be inside the body elements. So we type the body. I didn't want it to autocomplete, so I press enter. Then if I want it to close, I'll press the angle bracket, the splash, then the body. So I press Ctrl S. Now if you go back to your folder, you see we saved this with index.html. If you remember, as you can see here, this is index.html is there inside the folder. So now opening it, right click on it by opening it with a browser. So let me use Firefox. I want you guys to pay attention to something here. You see the title bar, we have free web class. So the title bar is coming from here. If I change this now to maybe a lecture 1, Ctrl S. If I go back to our browser by refreshing it, this arrow, you see we now have lecture 1. But let me change it back to what we have. Okay, fine. So I was discussing body the other time. You see all this white background. If you need content there, you will have to make sure the content goes to the body. So I'm gonna write some HTML elements, which I think we will cover next class. So let me just write some HTML elements here. So if I save it now, if I go back to my browser by refreshing, wow, amazing. See, that is how to start writing code. That is how to start writing browser. So for a recap, let me really explain again so you guys can understand. So we talk about HTML. What is HTML? Hypertext markup language, which is responsible for the language on the web pages. So HTML make use of tag. We have opening tag, we have closing tag. Our opening tag, between our opening tag and our close tag, here goes our content. So our opening tag is just the angle bracket with the tag name. If I'm using H1, the tag name here will be H1. If I'm using P, which is paragraph, the tag name will be P. So then our closing tag, the only difference between our opening tag and the closing tag is just the backslash. And please always make sure that you close your tag in your code. Whenever you are writing your code, make sure you always close your tag. Make sure you always close your HTML element. So then from there we move by creating a folder on our desktop or on our document. Inside that folder, we go back to our code editor. We open the folder by from file, open, we click on the folder, then the text editor will display a blank, then we save it. So the first name we make use of is index.html. So from there we declare our type, our document type using Doctype HTML. In the Doctype HTML, you might come across some lectures, some instructors, or some textbook where they will make use of the capital or true or camel case. But the best practice that I've seen so far is using this type. The Doctype will be in capital letter or true, while the other one will be in small letter. So after that we declare our head, because immediately after you Doctype HTML, the next thing comes is head. After head is title. After title, then body. There are some other things that we'll talk about later, but the best practice for now as a starter is head, title, and body. And all of these, they have their closing head. If you check very well now, you see this head this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. The title, this is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. The body, this is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. All other elements here too, they have their opening tag, they have their closing tag. So I believe you understand. Kindly comment on the YouTube, kindly share this video. Thank you.